What are things parents should never say to their children? Story number 1. This is kind of a low bar, as far as bad things my parents did goes. When I was a kid, my parents were very controlling. Now that meant, among other things, that they didn't let me go outside for fear that neighbor kids would wander by and I'd hear things that went against my parents' ideologies. It also meant that they controlled exactly what and how much I ate, as in if I didn't want to clean my plate, I was beaten. Well, I was also a fat kid, and given how much control I had over both my food intake and the exercise I could do, I didn't have much say in the matter. My parents gave me so much shit about it over the years. Though even if you were allowed to have some agency in your life, you shouldn't get that kind of shit. It was pretty miserable. I was finally on my own, and I took charge of that. Everybody was warning me about the freshman 15, but I was looking my intake. That's not great, of course, but I lost a couple pounds. Not even that much, and then I went back home for winter break, and my parents are all, "Oh, you're too thin. You need to eat more." And I'm like, "No. I'm good, thanks." At one point, Dad said, "Eat more or I'm kicking you out of my house," and so I gained that weight back over the break, and by the end, they were back to giving me shit about it. So I do know. Maybe don't be such a dick about your kid's weight, certainly not with demands and expectations that oscillate between two extremes like they did. Story number 2. When I was a teenager, I was extremely insecure about my double chin. I didn't have a huge one, but it would show up a little bit if I smiled in pictures. When I used to vent about it to my mother, she would just say that I should get plastic surgery on it when I'm older. Didn't realize until way later how messed up that is to say to your kid. Story number 3. Until you start paying bills, you have no rights. So you're damn right. I'm coming into your room whenever I feel like it. And I can take anything I want from it too, because it's actually mine. You're too stupid and lazy to be able to make in the real world. And if someone ever did hire you, they'd fire you as soon as they realized what a mistake they'd made. You have no idea how much you cost me. I could do X, Y, or Z thing if I didn't always have to pay for your crap. We're free thinkers in this house. Rage is when I express a thought/opinion that's different than theirs. You're just a kid. What do you have to be depressed about? You have nothing to be depressed about. After I told the doctor how I was actually feeling, you can't be that stressed. You're just a kid. Are you trying to make me look like a bad parent? Story number 4. When I was 14, I used whatever money I had on me to buy an orange/gray beanie hat from the Nike store we were at. When we got back into the vehicle and I put it on, my dad looked in the rearview mirror and said, "You look stupid." In that he wasn't joking either. It was pure maliciousness. Even my stepmom looked at him and gave him the death glare. Like, WTF is wrong with you? It's almost 25 years later and I still remember that. Still stings. So yeah, parents, don't tell your kids that they look stupid based on an article of clothing that they wanted and purchased with their own money. Kids can handle insults from their peers just fine, but from their parents, God, that shit hurts. Story number 5. Don't make your kids do the things you're afraid to face. When I was a kid, my mom dumped all that shit on me. Rent late, I had to face the landlord. She tried to convince me it was a fun game. Like, see how fast you can run to his door, drop a check in the mail slot and run back to the car. Even at 10 years old, I know it wasn't a damn game. All she was doing was transferring her anxiety directly to me. Be honest with your kid about the shitty situations you might be in, but don't make them carry the weight in your place. Story number 6. Bad-mouthing the other parent to you behind their back usually happens when they're divorced or otherwise no longer together. My father had this weird idea, for some reason, that my mom was constantly bad-mouthing him to me and my brother and was using us as a piggy in the middle to get back at him. Divorced for context, when that was never actually the case, but I think it's just projection because that's exactly what he would do if our living situation was reversed, by living with him and not our mother. Story number 7. You'll understand when you're older. I'm now 35 and looking back, this one saying caused me to rush through my life, wasting much of my youth because I felt I needed to mature as quickly as possible in order to stand on equal footing with my parents. It took many, many years to realize that I never could have rushed it anyway, as maturity cannot be rushed, it must be cultivated. So all I achieved was passing up on a lot of fun and formative things as a teenager, trying to become old enough to understand. There's also the parallel saying, but you're too young to feel something. One's age has nothing to do with fatigue, frustration, anxiety, anything. I'm 35 now and just as tired now as I was at 18. Apparently, I'm just tired. Story number 8 over one of all watch Bluey with your kids. Second, when you yell at your 4-year-old, or scream or spank them, just remember they are actually terrified of you. Terrified they are helpless, and you are a monster to them. They do not understand anything you are doing. Be as gentle as you can. In the tough moments, when they seem to not be listening, they are figuring out how to live life. You can show them without berating them. When they are older and can understand tough love, then that is different. But when they are little, just work on the heart, nothing more. Story number: threaten to send them to live in foster care if they don't do what the parent wants. My mother used to use that threat if she saw me picking my nose. I didn't realize how fucked up that was until I was an adult. Story number: you're just like the other parent. Really messes with the kid's view of your relationship. Why is being like someone you presumably love more than anyone else an insult? Do you not love the other parent as much as you have said? If you don't love the other parent as much as I thought, and I am just like them, then you must not love me as much as I thought. It leaves the kid with a lot of doubts and destroys the sense of stability they have. Story number 11. Never laugh at your child when they do something wrong or mess up something. I have a neighbor who laughed at his 6-year-old son once when I was visiting in the backyard, when the son was trying to be cool like his dad and wore some plastic sunglasses that broke. Over the years, I could see the resentment growing in that kid, as his dad would laugh at him when things went wrong, figure out some kind of way to react that does not involve derisive laughing. Story number 12. Growing up as a girl, my mother always made a big issue about me cleaning my room and the surroundings around me. One time when she got really angry, she said, "When you move out and I come to visit you, I'm sure worms are gonna come to welcome me because you are so dirty." Fast forward a few years and I'm always frantically cleaning whenever she comes over, and she still finds something that needs to be cleaned. The windows need to be washed. The top of the cabinets needs cleaning. Luckily my father shuts her down because he can see that everything is cleaned. But it feels really shitty when your mom thinks you are dirty, even though you try everything to keep things clean. Story number 13. My family came over, and they were all chatting in the living room. I came out to sit with them because I thought it would be nice too. Group conversations are really difficult, and I can't speak to more than one person at a time because I'm on the spectrum. So instead I sat there petting my dog. They all looked at me like I was creepy for being quiet. My dog walked off to go sniff people, and I took out my phone to read a book. My uncle made a joke that the dog walked off because phones can't pet dogs. Story number 14. For me it was my body being criticized. I was always into the arts, art, dancing, singing, acting, etc. But as I turned 9 to 10 I got into competitive swimming. Turns out I was really good at it. I trained for fun in our home pool. Trained seriously for by 1 week. Ate very healthy food thanks to my father's girlfriend. At first it was a good thing to them that I was eating well and doing an extracurricular they deemed worthwhile, just like my brother being in soccer. But time went on. I needed a new swimsuit. I wanted a one-piece suit. They refused to get me a one-piece. They got me a two-piece. A sports bra-like top and a skirt. I don't know, but it showed my toned muscles off. I didn't like it. I thought bikinis were only for adults, and it made it hard to swim fast and properly, with the skirt floating around all the time. I went swimming on a weekend afternoon, heard my dad's GF and her mother talk in full detail about my body in their language, thinking that 3.5 years around a language wouldn't be enough for me to decipher what they were saying. I looked too sexy for my age. Maybe I'm trying to get boys' attention. I'd rather not say the rest, but it was all about how I'm trying to grow up and look hot for all the men around. I didn't choose to love swimming, and I certainly didn't choose to look sexy at age fucking 9. I didn't choose my swimsuit. I don't think I understood what kind of effect it had on me until I grew into a woman. 24, and I remember it like it was yesterday. Story number 15. Never cuss at them or compare them to others. Never make promises you can't make good on. Don't ever say they're acting just like their mother/father. Don't say anything to them about a thing they can't control, change, or were born with. Don't talk about being proud of anyone else's kid. Either just give them support, encouragement, love and support, along with guidance, and maybe lots of funny life stories. Story number 16. My mother still directly blames me for a string of unfortunate life circumstances that started, or at least came to a head, with her being fired from her job for being late. She was already on shaky ground at work, and they were honestly looking for a reason to let her go. She was at home arguing with me because I didn't want to go to school. I was 15 being bullied and struggling academically. I'm 40 now and she still blames me for ruining her life. I was a fucking child. She was divorced, struggled to keep a job, had no impulse control with her spending, couldn't budget her money, and was in a spiral of depression after my grandmother died. But no, it was my fault. Story number 17. I was a fat kid. My dad passed when I was little. My mom worked a lot to support us. Eating and watching TV was just the norm. Married my stepfather, and couple of years later, every single day it was an insult of some kind. Every single day, after being called names and bullied at school. That's what I went home to. My younger brother was born, and my sister turned 18 and left the house. I really didn't exist to him unless he was insulting me, or lecturing me about my faults, and I was always a disappointment. The three of them would go out to dinner, get family pictures made, go see his family. I was told just go in living room watch TV. Summer before senior year, I got motivated, lost a lot of weight. Oh, then I was accepted. First compliment I got from him. I remember my mouth fell open. I was so surprised. Still a disappointment, but I should work harder for his approval. 20 years later, and it's "Oh, I love you girls just like you" was my own. Amazing how I never knew that. Anyway, he passed and life too short to hold grudges. Took me years to learn it, but with my own kids, I tell them every day I love them. Praise your children 100 times more than you punish them. The world is gonna kick them around. Be the safety net they know will catch them. Next story. Don't say things like that. When a kid is expressing difficult feelings, I remember telling my mom I feel empty inside, and trying to express the feelings I was feeling all the time when I was in kindergarten, and that was what she told me. Don't say things like that. Kept my depression and anxiety a deep, shame-filled secret until I was 28, when I finally pursued therapy and treatment on my own. I've never forgotten what it felt like to be told not to feel my feelings. I never shared anything important with my parents. From that alone, I still have to remind myself that I'm allowed to feel and share my feelings. This accredited thread is an incredibly important trauma share, and I hope others find it helpful and validating. Reading the other experiences on here made me feel seen and connected. For that I thank all you strangers for being brave and sharing your experiences. But what I hope most of all is that you understand what I mean when I tell you that even though I do not know you, and even though I may never meet you, laugh with you, cry with you, or kiss you, I love you with all my heart. I love you, Alan Moore. V for Vendetta.